Hello everybody, welcome to week 2 of Anytime is Chatting Time. Last week we looked at early brain development and how these early years are absolutely crucial for brain development. We know that when our children go to nursery school, 90% of the brain connections have already taken place. So that's why it's really important to think about the ways in which we're providing stimulation in order to help our children thrive and to support their early learning and brain development. Every time you smile, talk, laugh, sing and share stories with your child, you're literally building their brain. And the more you do this, the more permanent those pathways in the brain become. So that's why we want to encourage a daily habit of smiling, talking, laughing, singing and sharing stories. And you can do this anywhere, anytime. So we're going to look at these 4 key ways of interacting with our children in a wee bit more detail now today. So why does smiling matter? So smiling is all about connecting with somebody. When you smile at your child, you are giving them a feeling of being loved, safe and secure. This means that their brains are going to feel calm and relaxed, and this is optimal in order to support learning. So we know that nobody learns when they're under pressure. So if your wee one's brains are nice and relaxed, this means that those brain connections can take place. And it works both ways. When your wee one smiles at you, I'm sure you all feel a lovely feeling of reassurance that you're doing a great job. So last week we talked about that idea of the back and forth interaction and how it's this idea of being responsive that really supports language development. And that's why we say we're talking with our children, not talking to our children. And it's really important that you tune in to your wee ones and work out what it is that is of interest to them. So that's what you talk about, their interests. And research tells us that when we follow our child's lead and talk about the things that are of interest to them, this really supports language development as opposed to when the adult tries to direct the talk to something that they want to talk about. So that's why it's really vital just to follow our children's lead and work out what it is they're interested in. It's important to wait and see what it is they start to talk about. And then when we talk, give them a chance to respond to us, because some children need up to 10 seconds to process language. So try and adopt a nice slow rate of talking to your child and give them plenty of opportunities to respond. Taking turns ties in with that idea of the back and forth and being responsive. And as adults, we know that it's not very fun when we talk to somebody who dominates or doesn't give us a chance to talk or just talks about their interests all the time. So that's why we think we need to give our children the same opportunities. So allow them to express what it is they're interested in and let them have turns as well. So it's good to think about linking language to the world around our children. And this is how those brain connections take place. So if you think about all the things you do day in, day out, you get up in the morning, you maybe get your wee ones dressed, they brush their teeth, they maybe have a bath, you do some washing, you make breakfast, maybe you go outside for a walk, all the things you do inside, you might go to the shops with your wee ones. So these all provide so many opportunities for talking to your child. So just provide a running commentary on what you're doing or what they're doing, And by simply doing this, you are going to be exposing your child to up to 2,000 words every hour. So you can see how great that is to support them in learning words if you're just constantly talking about all the things you're doing in your daily routines. And you can do this anytime, anywhere. So talk about everything when you're out and about, and when you're in the car. Sometimes we hear that parents find the radio can be a wee bit distracting. So once you kind of turn the radio off and just listen to what your child is communicating, you might start noticing they're pointing things out that they can see on the road as you drive by. So that's a nice wee tip for when you're out and about, maybe tuning in to what it is they're talking about and then responding to that. And if your child isn't yet using words, you can just tune into their non-verbal communication. So look at what it is they're looking at or what they're interested in, and then just simply provide some words around what it is they're interested in. If your child is using 1 or 2 words, you can expand on what they say. So it's that idea of elaborating. So just add 1 or 2 more words on to what they say, and that will help them to go from using 1 or 2 words to using short phrases and then eventually using sentences. So you're modelling how we put words together. And if your child is using a couple of more words together in short sentences, you can then add on new ideas to help support language development. And we don't think that it's beneficial to say to our children, say hello, say such and such. I know firsthand from experience that children aren't very motivated to do this. So it's more important that we just follow their interests and comment on what it is they're interested in. And this will really help them to learn language. We also know how important it is to repeat words. So we know that children need to hear words many times before they can use that word themselves. So plenty of repetition is key to language development as well. Okay. So laughing is good for all of us, especially at the minute. I think it's really important to have a bit of laughter in our lives. When we laugh, we are having fun. And again, it's a real mood booster. When our children have fun, we know that their brains are in that lovely state of feeling secure and safe and relaxed. And then again, all those lovely brain connections can take place when they are feeling that way. Scientists have found that 18-month-old children were more successful in learning a tricky task when they were sharing laughter with adults around them. And that feeling of being relaxed and happy works both ways. So our children naturally copy how we are behaving. So if we're having fun and laughing, they're going to naturally pick up on that. And then it works both ways. If your wee one is having a wee giggle or sharing laughter, it's easy for you to have a wee laugh as well. And it's just that lovely idea of having a fun two-way interaction with one another. But as we know, life is life. The reality is we can't all be happy 100% of the time, and times have been tough recently. It's been a very stressful few months, so we know that we have our off days, and what's important is if we do mess up, making up is the most important thing. So repairing that interaction. So if you're having an off day, just make sure the next day you try and come back to yourself. In Changing Times, Chatting Time, I mentioned the still face experiment. So that's where we know by that experiment children copy our behaviours and they naturally imitate how we feel. So if we're feeling off, they may become a little bit distressed and they may not just be at themselves as they naturally imitate how we feel. but children are very quick to forgive. So the next time when you're making up for that interaction the day before, if you've had an off day, children will forgive and forget and move on, and it's all about building that trust. We don't say to try and be a perfect parent, because there's no such thing, and it's actually really important that we aren't striving for perfection, because we want to teach our children about resilience, and we know that being a good enough parent is good enough. Okay, so singing and sharing stories sort of captures everything we've talked about. So children love repetition, and songs and stories are brilliant for really driving this idea home. Children could sing the same song or look at the same book so many times and never tire of it. And it's great because all this repetition gives them that opportunity to learn. When we're singing with our children, that sing-songy voice is more engaging for them in order to help them to tune in and listen. So we're helping develop their early attention and listening skills. And when we are singing and sharing books, we know that our child feels nice and calm and relaxed. And again, that idea, when they're feeling that way, their brain is ready for learning. Singing and sharing stories is really vital in order to support language development and support further literacy skills, so their ability to read and write in the school years. So all these things you're doing now with your children are really important for their future learning as well. Books are great, and songs are great too, because if you think about all the new words and experiences we give our children through singing and stories. For example, if we read a book about the jungle, our children's imaginations really develop, and they might talk about being in the jungle or things that you might see in the jungle without ever having been to a jungle themselves. So it's a really great way to help their early learning. And when we do share books with our children, don't worry about reading word for word. So again, it's that idea of following your child's lead. See what it is they're interested in. So if they are looking at a picture in a storybook, just simply comment on what it is they're looking at. And that will help them to link the language with what it is they're looking at and interested in, and that's going to help them learn. So singing about what you're doing can be great too, because it ties in with that idea of following what our child is doing or interested in. So I'm going to have a wee go at singing this. So this is a wee song that this mummy is singing to her child while they're doing the washing. So I love it when we wash the clothes, wash the clothes, wash the clothes. I love it when we wash the clothes, put them in here. So you can sing about anything that you're doing throughout the day, and that idea of if you're going to make up your own wee song, try and change the words of like a familiar song, so your wee ones are tuned in to a familiar tune. And it's fun for them as well. It'll really encourage them to listen if you do kind of, change the words around a wee bit or put their name into a song. They love it when you do that too. So that was just an overview today of Anytime is Chatting Time. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me. I'm happy to help with any queries. If you are concerned about your child's development, or you have questions or want clarification about anything I've talked about, please get in touch. Like I said, I'm happy to help. And I just want to say a big thank you for listening today, and I hope to see you all very soon. Thanks very much. Bye.